Good morning and welcome back. We are on day 313 of our 365-day journey through the scriptures. At the moment, we are looking at those unique insights into Jesus given to us in St. Matthew's Gospel. And today we are continuing to look at the birth narrative, and we're on Matthew chapter 2, verses 13 to 23. And this concerns that quotation, "Out of Egypt I have called my son." When the Magi had gone, unexpectedly an angel from the Lord appeared to Joseph by means of a dream. The angel said, "Get up, take the child and his mother away from here. Escape quickly to Egypt and stay there until I tell you. Herod will soon be looking for the child. He wants him dead." So Joseph got up. That night he took the child and his mother and set off for Egypt. They stayed there until Herod had died. This was to fulfill what the Lord had said by the prophet, "I have called my son from Egypt." When Herod saw that he had been tricked by the Magi, he went into a furious rage. He sent people to kill all the male children under 2 years old in the Bethlehem area, calculating from the time the Magi had told him. That fulfilled a prophecy of Jeremiah. A voice was heard in Ramah, weeping and great mourning. It was Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted since they no longer lived. But when Herod died, suddenly, again in a dream, an angel from the Lord came to Joseph in Egypt. "Get up," the angel said, "take the child and his mother and go to Israel, because the people who wanted the child dead are now dead themselves." So he got up, took the child and his mother, and went to Israel. But when Joseph heard that Archelaus had taken the throne of Judea in the place of his father Herod, he was scared to go there. Being forewarned in a dream, he went off to the district of Galilee. Once there, he settled in a city called Nazareth, in order that what the prophets had said might come true. He would be called a Nazarene. Well now, bearing in mind Matthew's largely former Jewish readership, Matthew was anxious to give as much legitimacy to Jesus as possible. Everyone knew how insecure and paranoid Herod was. They knew he was sensitive about his Arab ancestry and fiercely defended his right to call himself and no one else the King of the Jews. He had tried to bolster his position by undertaking vast building works at the ancient site of the Jerusalem temple, whilst everyone suspected that in private he and his family were living it up in an outrageous way. This story about the massacre of the infants only occurs here in Matthew, and there are no other sources to confirm that it actually happened, either in the Bible or elsewhere. But it does fit in with what many people at the time thought about Herod. We do know that he had members of his own family killed, so one might suspect that he had little regard for the lives of his subjects or of strangers. Matthew used the story to set up what he alleges are 3 Old Testament echoes. The flight into Egypt leads Matthew to a quotation from the prophet Hosea 11:1, which reads, "Yahweh is speaking, I loved Israel as a child. From the time he left Egypt, I have called him my son." The massacre of infants reminded Matthew of the fate of the male children in Egypt prior to the Exodus. But he quotes from Jeremiah 31:15 about another bout of symbolical infanticide. Jeremiah was looking at events just prior to the Babylonian exile, symbolically showing us Rachel, their ancestor, mourning over the death of her descendants. Matthew's third quotation, which he says is from the prophets, is not found at all in Jewish scriptures, but does refer to the story of Samson, who took a Nazirite vow that he would or would not do certain things until he had accomplished God's will. So, Matthew holds up for his readers a figure with whom to compare Jesus. Samson put his vow on himself to fight for his people and ended up dying for them in the moment that he brought them a famous victory over their enemies by demolishing their pagan temple with all of them inside it. So, once again, Matthew brings to former Jews a story that they were familiar with, that would help them understand Jesus more clearly. And tomorrow, Matthew brings to his readers an important message about the consequences of not forgiving others when we can. And I'll see you then.